Hello and welcome. I am so glad you're here. I'm Beth, a creator-based coach with CMH Coaching for Life. I'm here today to help you and those you love create a life you feel grounded and at home in. Think of a life where you feel peace, love for those around you, and in a flow with just enough challenge to keep you happy and creating something wonderful. Sounds like magic, but it's not. You can create that life every single day. You can have a life full of love, excitement, hope, and creation. Our mission at CMH Coaching is to flood the earth with light through compassion, mindfulness, and hope. And I'm going to ask a favor of you. If you like what you see and hear today, think of someone you know that would enjoy and benefit from this message. Our mission is to flood the world with compassion, mindfulness, and hope. Share this with them. But for now, this is time just for you. So settle into whatever you're doing and enjoy this time with the girls, where we create that one awesome, amazing, perfect life every one of us is seeking.
You gotta watch your thinking. Watch your thinking. Watch your thinking.
Welcome to A Creator-Based Life, the weekly podcast for CMH Coaching. We empower women of faith to create the lives they love, the lives they've always wanted. That's fantastic. And I'm here with just Jaycine Bonnet, a business coach, a mom, and an avid runner, and with our good friend Jennifer DeRoos and Leo, who is recovering from illness.
He's such a mama's boy. I can't
Yeah,
go
he's a
anywhere
sweet
without
boy.
him following me.
Jen is a coach, she's a hypnotherapist, and she's a can grow anything gardener. And I'm Beth, your master life coach and the creator of the creator-based way. Create your one awesome, amazing, perfect life. And I'm almost half gray, better this week than last week. Hold on, see
Hey,
that?
I saw in the back when you
Coming.
turned around. Yeah.
Yep, and I got more up here.
That's
3 more
fun.
weeks. 3 more weeks. It's going to be great. I'm stoked.
Fun.
Speaking of, I just have to say, I had an interesting experience this week. We set a move date to move back into our house after almost 4 years of being out and 4 years of incredible, incredible change.
Yeah.
Which, 4 years ago, we started COVID. 4 years ago, we had two best friends and my daughter died during that time. And we had a son move in and we had a son leave for Korea. We just had incredible family changes. We had 2 of our kids move cross country, just all of this change. And we got that move date yesterday. And this morning I sat down and it was like this whoosh came up of, oh, we're going to start a new chapter. What will we do with the chapter we're ending? And I
Oh,
started to feel like with all of this change, we're going to need some kind of a little ritual or a something to mark the end of this chapter, which is us living in the 400 square foot apartment and experiencing all of these things, and the new chapter of Safe Haven Retreat. And it was a really powerful moment. I was like, oh, change. Okay, I guess we're doing this. I had no idea. It caught me completely unawares.
wow.
Yeah. It reminded me of Jen's caterpillar soup.
Mhm.
Like maybe we were the caterpillar building the cocoon almost 4 years ago, wrapping ourselves in our 400 square foot little cocoon.
Yeah.
And all of these things happened and we disintegrated into soup and we started to feel back together again. But now I have to break out of the cocoon and it's work.
It is work.
Yeah, it is work. It really is. But it was kind of a big moment for me this morning. It was cool. And it all started with that caterpillar that, May was here last weekend with
Yeah.
Aubrey and the rest of her siblings. And she found, y'all have hornworms where you live, the ones that eat the tomatoes.
Oh, yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
don't.
they're big, fat. They're like this big around green caterpillars and they have horns on their heads and spikes down their back. They can look really frightening.
Yeah.
May, though, her name is Madeline, just like the Madeline in the book. and so she's not afraid of anything. And so she brings me this hornworm on the palm of her hand, and she's like, look, I found a caterpillar. What is it? Come see. And she took it played with her better part of the morning. She took it in the sandbox. She took it all around the garden. She rolled it around and played with it. By the time she brought it to me, it was worse for the wear.
It was needing a break.
Yeah, yeah. And so, but it had its changes, and that's kind of the way we feel around here. We have had our changes, a little worse for the wear, ready to be butterflies. Wild change.
Yeah,
Yeah,
change.
you guys have had changes going on too, right?
Always change. I think that's the most constant thing is change. Just
It is the only constant. Troy has said it for years and years. The only constant, though he started it when we just had the baby. We had the one baby. We were in a little bitty apartment, and every night he'd come home and the furniture would be different. And he'd come in the house and he'd go, the only constant is change. But I was home older with the baby. What was I going to do, right?
the furniture.
The furniture was different. And so he said he didn't dare come in the house in the dark at night. He always had to turn the lights on because he never knew where things were going to be.
Good thing he's not a drinker, right?
Amen. Yeah. But the only constant really is change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you? What's changing?
Wow. So my oldest granddaughter turns 15 tomorrow, and she has been studying wildly for her learner's permit. And we've been thinking about and talking about change, and it brought me back to the time we were teaching my son how to drive, his learner's permit. And it was just, it was a fun conversation with my husband and my son and myself discussing. And my other son was actually here as well. And so it was just a fun discussion about the changes that have happened. It just felt like when you talk to Brandon and Tyler, they're like, gosh, it just seems like a couple of years ago. And now here we have Gemma, who's ready to get.
And she's 15.
She's 15 tomorrow. Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
You just look at that, and I like the retrospect sometimes in the middle of change. It's really a challenge. I am not a person, I'm unlike Beth. So when
You don't rearrange the furniture for fun?
Oh, no. That is not fun to me. That is really, I
love it. I like rearrange it once a week. Yeah, it's always different.
Yeah, my son Tyler is that way too, but that's really hard for me. That's stressful for me, that type of change. And so maybe I should do that.
I don't know. But if you don't like it, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and just even things like on my desk, everything has a place. This is where it goes. I know where it goes. It's been here for years. And yeah. So change can be hard. Even changing for me, like I'm thinking I need to update my family pictures. And so
we're going to do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I look at the other family pictures and I'm like, oh, this makes me so sad.
I want to get rid of that. Yeah.
It makes me sad that I don't have the newer pictures up, right? So it's finding that balance and finding that I guess, writing myself like Brene Brown said, write yourself a permission slip. That this is really okay to do. And if it's hard for you, if change is hard, sometimes we have to give ourselves permission to make those changes. Other changes just happen, like our kids get older. Maybe our best friend moves, something happens throughout our life, our job changes, sometimes we have no control over that. There are changes that we have no control over. And then there are those like changing the pictures that we do have control over.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thought, like, do I have so many things that I don't have control over that here's my pictures that
I need to keep them the same, or the stuff on my desk. I have control over this.
Yeah, my furniture. Yeah, so interesting. I've never thought of that. So I love this discussion because you guys, out there when you have discussions with others, and we all have different thought processes. It's so important to have those discussions because it opens up our minds to new possibilities. And whether we grasp a hold of them or we think I might rearrange my furniture, I don't know. I'm now thinking about it though. So anyway, just wanted to put that out there for you listeners because it is really important to have somebody to bounce ideas off of and talk about the differences and how other people do it. Yeah.
And just like you said, to expand your vision, to be able to look at change. I always have loved change. I loved change until people started to die in my life. That change was hard.
That's not the change we want. Yeah.
That wasn't the kind of change
Hard.
I want. But now, even after that, I can see the goodness in that change. You just had to go through the grief process and feel all the feels and go through all of that. But change really is a gift. If it wasn't, we would all be little green, horny caterpillars, right, for the rest of our lives, or the equivalent with the ugly, spiny backs. We want to grow up to be these beautiful butterflies, only these grow up to be moths, but even as moths, they're really pretty.
They're pretty moths, yeah.
But I wouldn't want to stay a caterpillar. I mean, I want to aspire to the bigger things and become the butterfly. I feel like that's built into us innately,
right,
that we were born to grow. And when we resist that growth, that's when we really get into trouble. Yeah, Jenn?
Oh yeah. I don't know. When you resist change in your life, all you do is suffer. All you do is have like regrets, or you have suffering.
Yeah.
It's really suffering. Yeah, it really is. You think about in the New Testament, Paul talks about kicking against the pricks. To me, that is resisting change. The pricks are the things that are annoying you, that you really don't want to have around, that they're bugging you and you're mad about it. So you're kicking them and you're actually hurting yourself. That feels like resisting change.
I think sometimes, like, if you could I'm talking from personal experience too. If I could get myself into kind of that mindset, or that, yes, this change, I don't really want it because I'm so comfortable. But
yes,
what if there's something wonderful about this change? What if there's something that's better on the other side, or of this change, or this thing I'm going through? So I'm trying to like look at my own life in areas that I'm resisting change, and why am I resisting the change? Why am I wanting it to not progress? Why do I want it to stay the status quo? Some things are okay to stay the status quo. Yeah.
But, like Jaycine's furniture. But it sounds like that's a curiosity step for you.
Oh yeah.
And I love that, Jenn, just having the curiosity. For me, just hearing you say that, it reminds me again that it's okay to ask myself questions and to question, well, why am I choosing to do this, instead of, oh, it's the way it's always been.
Yes.
It's really okay. And if it's the way it's always been, is that what I want? Or would there be something better? I love that. That is like, that's a mic drop. Yeah,
Jenn. It is. It just opens your whole world up to go, oh, wait, I could choose differently if I wanted to.
I kind of been thinking even further along that line. I was thinking, so what are my thoughts or my beliefs on why I want this to stay the way it is? And I realized it's keeping me in the past. It's keeping me stationary. It is not projecting me into like a movement forward into my better future, so to speak. So I'm like, oh my gosh, when I resist change,
but it feels so comfortable.
It totally does.
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to live with the view or perspective of my past dictating my present and future. I want me to be with the perspective of like, I want to create my future, because if I'm not with that perspective, I'm not creating. I'm just living out the status quo, living out my past programming, or however you want to say it.
So how do we change our narrative then?
First.
Say again?
Be aware of it first.
Yeah. Recognize.
Yes, that would be so. First is awareness, and then second would be curiosity.
Yeah, curiosity and just actually, I would even say, does this even really serve me? What are my goals or in this area, or what is my ideal or my what I want out of this area? And I would question that, and I would say, well, if it's not serving, I've got to come up with a different story to tell myself, a different way of living, a different mindset, a different belief system on this.
Yeah.
I'm working this through right now with some things in my life, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, can I ask you kind of something personal? Maybe you can share with us. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot.
Oh, you
But
are.
when you were growing up, you intended to have a family, and you and Jeremy don't have children.
We weren't
That
able.
was a big change in your life. How did you do with that? How did you work through that? Because I know you're okay, 90% okay with it now.
Oh yeah, because first of all, I'm old.
You're not old.
Well, I could
I
have
have,
a
yeah,
child now if
we're
I
both
wanted
doing the
to,
gray, but
because
you're not old.
come on.
No,
I
it's beautiful.
I'm definitely way past. I'm into menopause, so my body basically couldn't do it anyway. And
Right.
Right.
energy wise, even if I like adopted somebody right now, I'm like, I would have to adopt a college age student because I could not do anything else. That's about the amount that my energy has right now. So it it was hard. It was a struggle. It was a lot of why me's, why
Mm.
us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was a lot of also blame because mine was because of a car accident I was in that was not of my making. So
Right.
I had to work through a lot of like
A lot of anger.
anger, anger, resentment, blame, just work through a lot of that, and then just coming to acceptance of like, doesn't I could live in those areas, those emotions, those feelings, those memories of the past.
Mhm.
I could totally live in that, but what was it giving me at the moment, or in like the trajectory of my life? And so I really had to come through some changing, but also, my belief system, my spiritual belief system, really helped me to say, okay, but just not yet. You know,
Right. Not yet,
yeah,
because
not
you
yet.
know that you will have children one day, even
Yeah,
if it's not in this world. Yeah.
yeah. So it was just like that really helped too. Um, and just understanding that, I'm not really alone in this. A lot of people go through this or don't even like have the blessing of having a loving companion. So they
Right.
go through the world, alone, and that's okay for
So,
them. I mean, it's their path. It is their experience, what they need to have here. Um,
so was it like kind of coming to a life purpose idea, kind of like you're talking about someone who remains single, it's their path?
Well, so life purpose is interesting because yes, because born and raised in a very traditional Christian family, that was you were going to be a mom. That's what
Right. That was just my path too. Yeah.
that's what you were going to be. You become a mom and everything, and so everything was kind of that was your mindset and that's what you looked at in
It
as
was
your,
predestined. It's
yeah,
just what it was. Yeah.
that's what it was. So when that doesn't happen, you literally have to go against programming.
Right.
Literally have to say, okay, so it is an interesting trying to find something that can be your life purpose outside of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there are times when I feel like I've really nailed it, but then those thoughts and programmings come up and you're just like, oh my gosh,
Here I am again.
here I am again, but not as intense as before. I can look
Yeah.
back and see the growth and the
Yeah.
change. And yeah, so yeah,
About 50-50, probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, the older we get, my husband and I look at each other and go, did we dodge a bullet? Because
That's
we,
funny.
we see some of the stuff coming out, and even like as we watch nieces and nephews and brothers and sisters, we're just like,
Ah,
maybe this really was kind of like a blessing in disguise a
I
little.
like my life.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. Well, and Jaycine, you didn't get your happily ever after right away either, because
no,
you entered in with one kind of plan and it came out completely different. You want to talk about that?
I did. Yeah. So I entered in like y'all into marriage fairly early. And had children, and my marriage lasted 4 years. So,
Yeah.
and it was an abusive marriage, and that was nothing like my happily ever after, getting into my Prince Charming, and I think that that mindset back then was you find your Prince Charming, and your knight in shining armor or
Well, and
whatever,
it's
right?
almost like if you find your Prince Charming, you're deserving of your happily ever after.
Yeah.
It's a done deal.
Yeah. And back then they didn't have, you know, all of the stuff about spousal abuse and, partner abuse and things like that. I had as a young, gosh, I was probably 12 years old. I was always interested in child abuse for whatever reason. It was preparing me
It was, yeah, you needed to know.
to
Yeah.
recognize what abuse looked like and
Yeah.
to get out of the situation and get my children out of that situation.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was totally different than I had planned. And as I looking back now, like Jenn, you look back and say, well, I am grateful for that experience
Yeah.
and how it changed me in good ways. There were some ways early on that it wasn't so great, but as I developed and grew and I got out of the victim mentality and became a creator in my own life and learning that I had all the light and truth I needed to create the life that I wanted, that's what brought me into, a life that's not without problems, but it's a wonderful life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I
That
think
is
what
beautiful.
it is we're constantly creating that life.
Yes.
It's not like we arrive. I mean, we arrive at certain, I think, way
Maybe we
stations.
have milestones.
PlayStation,
We have
yeah.
moments.
Yeah.
Or I like to think of them as little oases along the
Yeah.
path. We have
Yes.
our oases.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we go back out.
Yeah. Exploring. It's an exploration.
Well, and I love that you bring up that principle, but it's a principle of creator-based coaching. You have within you light and truth. We were born with that. We have that. That's a gift from God. You have within you light and truth, all the power you need to grow and progress. It's in there. It's what you do with it that matters, right?
Yes.
And I know one of your favorite things that I hear you ask on the regular when we're talking about stuff is where's your focus?
Right.
You want to talk about that? I imagine that was a lot of what got you, both of you guys through. Where's your focus?
It is. Yeah. Am I going to focus on all of the ugliness? And there were times that I did because I went through the abuse and then I went through custody battle and things like that. But when I could keep my focus on what I wanted, like keep my focus on the prize,
Yeah.
that kept me above water. Like I
Yeah.
knew that I could survive. I knew that I wasn't going to drown. I knew that there was always hope. There was always hope. There was always hope. And for a better life for me, for a better life for my kids. And that was what got me through is my focus on hope.
Oh, I love that.
My focus on hoping that this is going to be my reality, because so many things were out of my control. Like I was having to go through bankruptcy. They were coming and repossessing my wood stove, my microwave.
And it's cold in Oregon.
Yeah, and I'm losing my house. They put a pink notice on my house and you guys have to find a new place to live. And that just so much at that time that um without that hope of a better life and something to come that I would have let go. And I think part of it was because a lot of it was because I had two little boys that were depending on me and I couldn't fail, right? I
Right.
couldn't fail. And I knew God wouldn't let me fail if I could lean on him and trust him. And sometimes he let me get to the point where I felt like I was not going to have air again. And then all of a sudden, that hand reaches down and pulls you out. And it's just so much more incredible than you ever thought it would be.
Yeah, because he will catch you every single time.
Every time, every
Yeah,
time.
every single time. That helps with the focus. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Well,
on him.
this is this phrase in changing the narrative. Go laugh in the places you have cried.
I loved that in the Monday morning inspiration. That was
Yes.
cool,
Go
Beth.
laugh in the places you have cried. And that's the last thing I really want to talk about change. Jenn, you did this as you were moving through the process of accepting you're not going to have children in your marriage at this time. How? How is it that you've gone back and laughed in the places you have cried? And I'll give you a minute to think about it if you want. But because for me, what it means is the forward focus and finding joy today.
Mm.
Well, and also I just think there's such a big part of it is like there is no matter what, there's no, you can't do anything to go back. There's
Yeah, but
nothing
you sure want to.
you sure do. So why would you want to spend your energy and effort and your emotions in that space?
Uh-huh.
And so it's like, and I think, I mean, I have a really amazing husband in the sense that when we get into those desperate places of despair or just hurt,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
anguish,
we're missing somebody or
yeah,
something or the better times, whatever it is. Yeah,
that
we're down.
that anguish space,
Mm-hmm.
he has a very quirky sense of humor. And so it's almost just absurd. And so we would just we'll say those funny things like, I think we dodged a bullet, and it makes us laugh, these are like some other things, and like,
Yeah.
and just, and so that's how we have been able to, like, I think, laugh in those places of pain.
Mhm.
I think. I mean, I
mean,
mean,
it's an ongoing practice, but it's something really to think about. How do you laugh in the places that you have cried? And for me, it was going back and reframing out of the victim mentality and into the blessings and the gifts that were given.
Mm.
What were the gifts? What were the things that I learned? What were the wonderful parts? And it's so easy to see the victimhood and the pain. But if you're willing to let the pain exist and just let it be there, then you can look at the good. What were you going to say, Jaycine?
I love that, Beth, because for so long I didn't allow myself to feel. It was
Well, it's
bury
risky.
it,
It's
bury it,
risky to
bury it,
feel.
right? I
Yeah.
can bury it. I can bury it. I can bury it. There were
Yeah.
certain emotions I allowed myself to feel, but others I did not.
Yeah.
And pretty soon that it started manifesting in different ways in my body, like creating cancerous cells, like,
Pain in my low back or my
yes,
neck or my
yeah.
knee. Yeah.
Or rashes on my skin, like hives that I couldn't get rid of. It has
Yeah.
has to come out somewhere.
yeah, they've connected rosacea to your stress levels even and the health of your nervous system. Yeah, with your skin.
Yeah.
I would have never thought that, but it's true.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It has to manifest, whether it's bronchitis, whether it's and which
That
wasn't,
energy goes somewhere.
it goes somewhere, has to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
as we're talking about this, I'm like, oh, it's something kind of came into my mind as, I mean, those places of pain. I mean, those are like big things that happen to us in our life, and I think we have to be careful not to like just to like Pollyanna over it.
Right.
Yeah,
We
no,
have
you
to
need to
acknowledge
feel
it.
it.
But
Yeah.
what I was thinking about is there's this amazing practice that, not to let one experience or 5 minutes ruin a whole day. Not the 5 minutes just ruin just that 5 minutes.
Yes.
But what I was thinking about was, so I know I've shared on this podcast a lot. When I was 20, I was in a severe car accident, which really, one of those good things, bad things type stuff that came out
But
of it.
it really changed the direction of your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my dearest friend Stephanie was killed in it. And I actually watched her die. So I have a really, really bad memory of her. And it was
Right.
really hard for me to, like, don't not want to shut down completely everything about her.
Right.
And so I remember her and I had this practice, where we would be driving and doing some, we hung out, we did hikings, we did campings, we did a ton of stuff together. And we would play this game called Remember When. And we would say, remember when this, and we would just start laughing or be like, oh, that was so good when so-and-so did this, or that. And we would just remember when, remember when, remember when.
Yeah.
And so when I was trying to emotionally recover from that, I started to play that remember when in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't have all of that, just that horrific one, experience with her be everything that I remembered, because I wanted to remember the good parts.
What happened when you did that?
It was interesting. My mind went to, it was like a different state. And I just started going through the files and remembering things and actually having more of the happiness or the laughing or the feelings that I would have when I was with her, when we were doing this stuff.
Yeah, it took courage though. I'll bet it took a lot of courage to be willing to think of her.
Yeah. But it was actually, it's like, I'd rather do that than remember the pain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like I think that is a little bit of what you're talking about, is like going to the point of pain and meaning it with laughter.
Laugh in the places you cried. Yeah. Yeah. And we can do that because we all have places of joy in our lives. We just need to make the deliberate choice with that light and that truth and the power that we have. We use that choice to go back and remember the good times. Yeah. That focus. Yeah. That's a good way to deal with change. So we'll see. Safe Haven Retreat is coming. We're going to be moving. What'll be an interesting time of change. Yeah. I hope we all come out butterflies and not these ugly green worms. I'm sure there will be some wormy times in between before we make butterfly. Yeah. It'll be good. And the pushing out. I think when I think of Jenn, your choice to go back and remember when the good with your friend Stephanie, that was the equivalent in my mind to pushing out of the cocoon, that hard work that it took. So you could come out the butterfly that you are now. Yeah.
Few wings that are a little limp, but that's okay.
Got some chips in mine. Some little kid carried me around the garden a little while and chipped them off, but yeah, it's good. So we have U Week coming up. Anybody want to talk about U Week?
U Week is so
It's
fun.
the 9th to the 13th in September. What do you say, Jaycine? What do you know?
Yeah, U Week is so fun. I was actually talking with a couple of gals, younger gals, like Kaisa was in her 20s when she came, and then Lydia she was 19 when she attended our very first U Week. And both of those young ladies have talked about the impact. That was 2 years ago, and they've talked about the impact that U Week has had on their life and how it's helped them to change their thinking and their focus and move forward when they get in parts where it feels too hard and they feel stuck. They can go back to the things that they learned in U Week and move forward. And it's just
That's cool.
It's so cool because everybody needs this. I mean, we get stuck at no matter how old we are. I see my little ones who get stuck, my little grandkids who get stuck. We all get stuck. It's how are we going to handle it? Getting out of that stuckness. So yeah.
That is fantastic. Well, it's a month from today, U Week. So we've got 4 more weeks probably, I think, for sign up. And it's on Eventbrite where you can go in and sign up for that. If you just search U Week, it's all one word, YOUWEEK, and you search online classes. It's U Week Online. You'll find us and be able to sign up. And it's every night for a week. It's one price. The way Eventbrite has it listed, it kind of looks like you have to pay for every night, but you don't. You just buy one ticket and it's good for the whole week. And you come as much as you can. Yeah. And it really is a life-changing experience. And it's like hardly any money at all, for what's going on. Yeah. It's our happy place. We do it every year, and every year it's more fun. And every year we know a little bit more. And so it's just come and learn the principles of creator-based coaching and feel the hope and move forward into your coming school year and your holiday season with a better direction. Yeah, it's fabulous. Hey, how's book club coming, Jaycine? I know that's tomorrow.
Yeah, book club is a fun book. It's called Pushing Up Purple Daisies, and it's a whodunit and takes place in Oregon. So for me, it's like, oh, I know these places, and it's really kind of
That's fun.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is when we had our first discussion last week, we talked about who might have done it. And now as we've gotten through halfway through, I'm kind of like, well, yeah, it was kind of off base, right? So it's changing. So it really is cool. I don't know that any of us have figured it out. We keep getting texts from each other going, okay, I don't think
Do you
it's
think it's do you think it's M?
yeah. So
I think I know who it is. Yeah.
yeah, and it's pretty, it's a good book. Yeah.
That's really fun.
I know, I think it's funny because I like whodunits too, and then I'll be thinking, I know who does it, and then all of a sudden who does it gets bumped off, and I'm like, well,
Like,
what?
now what?
Now what? Yeah.
Right? Oh
I
my
was totally off base.
yeah.
Well, and you really do. When life is changing, you really need something like that where you can just have a rest. You can
Yes.
just be out of your own life and have a break and enjoy something completely different.
And that's what we decided for August it was important to do. So
Yeah,
Can I
that's great.
Can I add something to that along
Yes.
the butterfly theme? That do you know that when it rains, when it's really rainy and stormy, that the butterfly will seek shelter because its wings can't handle the rain.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
so
so
they
your
just
whodunit book can be your shelter.
it's your
Yeah.
shelter. So sometimes in the storm of life, you can take a rest until
Yeah,
you
totally.
yeah, till it kind of passes.
Yeah, totally. Another rest is to come to Coach and Clear and get the support of those women. So book club is Wednesdays at 1:30, and that's 1:30 Central. And Coach and Clear is Tuesdays at 1:30 Central. And it's a really great way to work with change because you come into a small group of women, like-minded, that you can share as little or a lot if you want to. And everybody's just there to support you. And so you get to talk a little bit about what your goal is. We share, and then we do the emotional baggage release, basically, to get rid of the energies that are bogging you down and help you to move forward in the changes that you're making. It is one of the highlights of my week, especially with this particular group of women that's in there. They're just so faithful and so strong and so good to just, I just kind of come in and they coach, everybody coaches everybody, and it's just a really great group. Yeah. So that's Coach and Clear. And there's no mastermind this week, but next Monday there will be. Yeah, because we meet twice a month and I'm looking forward to mastermind. There's a lot going on, but mostly you week. I'm just so looking forward to it. Yeah, in a month.
Yeah.
So send off to change. What's your focus?
yes.
Laugh in the places you've cried. I think that's going to be really cool for us as we move out of this space and into the new chapter, is for closure for that season to go back and choose to laugh in the places that we have cried. We have done a lot of crying in the last 4 years, and so that'll be really good. Any other words of wisdom before we send off our crew to another week on change?
Be curious.
You are not a victim.
Be curious. Yeah.
Be curious. Yeah, be curious. All right. Well, y'all have a beautiful, beautiful week. And we will talk to everybody very soon.
With every little thought I think. I can choose to be happy, choose to be free, moment by moment. It's all up to me, 'cause what I think about, I bring about. That's the way it is, and there is no doubt. Day by day, I pave the way with every little thought I think.
Hey, thanks for joining us today in A Creator-Based Life. I hope you felt that compassion, mindfulness, and hope you came seeking today. You can find more of it at cmhcoaching.com or on Linktree/CMHcoaching. Of course, any social media outlet, we're there too. Because you felt the benefit and light in this message, please invite those you care deeply about to join us. Help us to create a ripple effect across the globe of compassion, mindfulness, and hope. Then we can create a creator-based life together. Have a great week, y'all. We'll talk to you soon.
Moment by moment, it's all up to me. 'Cause what I think about, I bring about. That's the way it is, and there is no doubt. Day by day, I pave the way with every little thought I think. Day by day, I pave the way with